This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Revival of America podcast. This is Jenny. I'm the owner and the host of the Revival of America. Today we have the Rubberduck in the house, everybody, for this series. So please, everybody here on X Spaces, if you guys have a question for Rubberduck, feel free to, or myself, request a mic, and I will unmute your mic at some point in this podcast. You can ask your question to Rubberduck. Also, too, if you're over here on X Live or Rumble Live, if you have questions, feel free to write them in the comment area, and I will read those as well at some point in the podcast. Also, to everybody, I want to again extend my thanks, gratitude, love to all of you for all the well wishes that I have received since the unfortunate passing of my father. I want to tell you how much I love you guys. I'm going to hold it together, you guys. But that was my first podcast since all that happened back last week with the Rubber Duck, and it's been a challenge, but Dad would want us to keep pushing on, even though it seems kind of unfair. We just move on with our lives, and he's not here, right? But he's in a better place, guys. I know that for sure, and I just want to thank all of you guys here with the Revival of America. You, as the audience, are absolutely wonderful, and this is why I do what I do. And just my gratitude is huge, and my love is even bigger for all of you. So thank you so much for all of that. And I'm gonna move on before I start crying. Also, to everybody, if you come in late to the podcast and you want to listen to the replay or share it with a family or friend, please feel free to go to the podcast host or my social medias, which are iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, PocketCast, Podbean, Riverside, Amazon Music. Social medias are Jenny Dreed Facebook at Jenny_Dreed, X at JDreed Rumble, at JDreed True Social, at JDreed Instagram, The Revival of America over on YouTube, and The Revival of America over on Telegram. Also, everybody, if you haven't noticed, it is a wild, wild, crazy fest out there with the drama and the noise and the bullshit. Stay out of it. Myself and some others will listen to it, so we can kind of warn you a little bit of what to listen for and not to listen for. If you feel it's not good, just exit out of the podcast, the chat, the comments, whatever it is, because everybody, it's wild, and we are going to continue to see this. It's not going to get any better. I think it's going to get a little worse before it gets better. So please, everybody, I say it all the time: be careful who you listen to, who you follow, and what you're putting in your mind, because I'm telling you, it can get it's mind. It's a mind, you know what, guys. So be careful out there, buddy. Protect your mind, because it is a powerful tool. Also, everybody, if you get a random message, somebody, because I'm getting some direct messages from some of my audience members saying over on Telegram or here on X, Instagram, whatever, people pretending to be myself or my audience or my guests, excuse me. None of my guests or myself will randomly reach out to you and ask you about financials, crypto, if you're ready for a scare event, anything like that. If you get something like that, please block report them. Let me know, so I can then let you know that this is what to look for. This is out there. Block, report it, and I can make sure they're not in any of my chat rooms, lives, whatever. Okay, so please be careful out there, guys, because these scammers are getting more creative by the day, and it's wild. Just, you got to protect yourselves, guys. It's pretty scary. Also, too, if you have a question for me, or you're looking to get in touch with John Baxter and his staff, or you want to know about Field McConnell's books, because they are still available, everybody. Many have reached out to you. Don't know how much longer I'm going to have these, but there are a few still available. So reach out to me at the revival of America at yahoo.com. That is my personal email for that kind of stuff or questions that you may have for me. But if you have a story or a journey to tell, I created that TROA submissions at yahoo.com specifically for your stories and your journeys. This way I can get right to them, read through your story, because I do vet them, guys, because believe it or not, the scammers, I tell you, they're getting creative. They create some fake story just so they can get on a podcast so they can try to feel relevant quotes, right? So guys, just please be careful, and yes, send me your stories over there at TROA submissions at yahoo.com. And I think that's it, you guys. I'm getting back into it. Bear with me. I kind of stumble on my tongue sometimes when I've been absent for a minute, but I am slowly getting back into it. I have probably about 6 shows this week, 5 or 6 shows. I'm hopefully going to be having. I have 2 today, Rubberduck, and then we have Teresa Ryle coming on with that Patriox oxygen therapy water. You can drink it, you can bathe in it, you guys. If you're looking for alternative ways of healing or second hope at life. I'm telling you guys, she has some testimonials that speak for themselves. I mean, the water speaks for itself. I'm using it, but at the end of the day, the testimonials are massive. So you don't want to miss that one. That one's going to be at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time today over on Rumble. I'll stream it here on live as well. But yeah, check that out, you guys. She's going to be a recurring guest every other Wednesday, so she will be here. I'm trying to get Captain Kyle and Juan on for Wednesday. And then Rick Anson will be here tomorrow with Ageless Peptides and Brain IQ, all natural supplements, like the vitamins that we take. We know they're all BS, but these are all natural, made from hemp. So yeah, good stuff, everybody. And then next week we've got Derek Johnson. He's coming back on. We're gonna be having SG and on back on. Everybody's coming back on, guys, but bear with me. It's a slow roll for me because of obvious situations. So with that, no further ado, we got Rubber Duck in the house. Rubber Duck, let me send you the co-host, my friend. And yes, so I'm excited to be here, guys. Please don't ever be afraid to ask a question. No question is a dumb question. We are here for you. We do this for you in our spare time, and we want to help you guys through it because there is a lot of crap going on out there. And over here on X Live right now, if you guys X Space Live right here, if you guys can please go down to that purple pill and repost out this space, let's get some more people in here because as we know Rubber Duck has a lot of great information and we get a lot of great questions in here through our podcast here. So with that, no further ado, what's up, Duck? How are you, my friend?
Hey, honey, how you doing? What's up, everybody?
I'm doing,
Happy
I'm doing
Happy
good.
Monday.
The
You
best
hanging
I
in there,
can.
sweetheart?
I'm trying, man. I have my times. I tend, it seems to be, I do my workouts in the morning, I go shower and I lose it.
Well, pretty soon those times you'll stop crying, but those times will turn into your private time, to do what you need to do, and then that'll just become part of your life.
That's
So,
right. Yep. I
for
know.
good or for bad, and it helps me. It helps with the other side when folks pass away in your life that were a big part, but not for good reasons. When they pass, you know what I mean. It kind of balances itself out, But to have your pops go, that's kind of a life altering thing. But the new thing is you started a new chapter, and now this is you, like literally solo,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to be a part of it. We all are, we're all in this together.
Well,
You
I
know what I
love you,
mean?
Duck. Thank you
Yeah.
for your support, my friend. You've been
You're not
there.
the
And
first, sweetheart. You won't be the last, and we're all in this together. So if you
I
want to
know.
waddle, you waddle, or you want, I'll clear the way. And if you want to sit here, and you know what I mean, that's what we're all here for. I'm here for it no matter what. But
Well, I love it. I love having you on. It's always a good time. And, I was going through some of my ex posts and just some of the feed that we're seeing. And, with this unfortunate situation for my father, I'm like reading this from the Wall Street Apes, everybody. It says, wow, foreign born man in California caught setting up fraudulent hospice companies and working with mortuaries to get the names of deceased people to bill Medicare. And I'm like, what? I'm getting ready to send this shit to my mom. I'm like, damn, like people, this is like the kind of scams, guys, that we're looking at. I mean, it's so horrible and it's just morbid. It's
But you know what's
disgusting.
funny? These are the scams that we never heard about.
Yep.
We
Yep.
always knew a victim. We always knew a victim, and we always heard their story. And son of a bitch, there was nothing we can ever do about it. But now we all hear about it, and it's going to get. I mean, I think that's kind of where we're at. In the sea of the gray. And everyone's just going to keep hearing about this stuff like we all have throughout our lives, but everyone's going to hear about it all at once. All the stuff you've heard, all the stuff you saw, all the stuff you learned, everything. It's all going to come up again. And you're going to be like, well, wait a minute. How old am I? And none of this stuff, nothing. Like I've just heard about it, like nothing happened. And that's how you get America pissed, and this ain't going to happen until, until you're pissed off enough to get into this with as much investment as we are, and in his own way, Juan has said that too. You'll become us quicker than we'll forget and become you. And that's just because you can't forget what you know. They used to know how to make us forget what we knew, but they're not doing that no more. That's why people like us are remembering, and people like you, which I mean, who are not remembering, you're just afraid. But once you get past that it's over. The fear ends when you break the spell. There is no more fear. There's no fear on the other side of the black magic spell, guys. I'm here to tell you,
So
it doesn't
let's,
exist.
and I agree with you, and I thank you for saying that because I'm trying to play a lot of catch up, but I'm listening to some of these, watching some of these feeds, reading the stuff, listening to some of these podcasts and stuff. You have a lot of people out there putting out that fear mongering, and that's another thing, guys. No fear, 365 times in the Bible. Don't be fearful, guys. Are we going to go through some stuff? Yes, but I'm hearing stuff out there. They're like putting stuff out there about Iran having this potentiality of harming Barron Trump and Melania and just stuff like that. I don't like putting that stuff out there because I just don't agree with that, right? Or
Well, number
just
one, it's not Iran when they say that.
yeah, so it's
Remember.
just stuff like that, guys. You got to kind of realize if you want to tune into that shit or not. Like me, I got out of there. I don't want to hear that kind of stuff. I don't put that kind of stuff out there, and I don't know. It's just stuff like that. And there's a lot of the fear mongering coming back up. I mean, it's always been there, but it's being really pushed out there again. I've noticed.
Well, they have. I mean, they have targeted us in the past. You know what I mean? They have targeted presidents in the past. I've never thought Iran was the problem. These fucking ayatollahs, they were just put on a weird, like, comic stage, to do their ayatollah shit over the last 50 years. And really, it's been all, rattlesnake rattling, saber rattling, and it's, you know what I mean? And it's never and they've never had the military. I don't believe they've ever really had a weapon in terms of a nuclear weapon. You know what I mean? And I don't believe that they've come close to it. I believe that the only nuclear weapon they've had is whatever Israel has. Because I believe that Israel, people talk about the Greater Israel Project, all that stuff. Whatever it was, it's not something that they graduated to. Like, oh, let's start Iran with the Ayatollahs. We'll make that the Great Israel. Let's do this in the 70s so that maybe by 2025, 2030, we'll have our greater. No, they've done that already. And the first way you do something like that, when you take over a country, you got to take over its military. And then you got to put something up on a stage, because you got the TV and the broadcast on your side. So you got to get a narrative up there. And then underneath the narrative, that's what's really happening in the country. Now think about the ideology that they have in that country. That's all Weimer. That's all sexual ideology, pedophilia, all of that ridiculous, like incestuous bullshit. Like that wasn't always that wasn't always like that over there. You know what I mean? So before Iran, before the Ayatollahs came in, and which is when the IDF and Bibi came in, because you got to bring in the IDF and Bibi so that they can install the Ayatollahs. Why? Because there was too much freedom in Iran. So that's where they saw the opportunity. They couldn't have a little state like the size of New Jersey called Israel, you know what I mean? That was signed off on, by the King of England and authorized by the Pope at that time, the Vatican. You can't just put a little fucking state of white people in the middle of Palestine and expect to get away with it unless you got some muscle. You know what I mean? So they put Iran in there as the muscle, not to knowingly protect Israel, but to fuck with every enemy Israel would ever have. Because if you had a mask and nobody knew it was you, and you had claimed you had nukes, you got guns, you got crazy terrorists, harbor for terrorism, and if you're in charge of the broadcast, would you ever let Iran, you know what I mean? Would you ever let Iran be really known for what it is? Of course not. You're Bibi, you're the IDF, you know what I mean? You're the Vatican. You control the signal. Nothing gets on the broadcast signals unless you authorize it. So you got the years of the brainwashing. Everybody gave up the old Iran for what it was. Nobody looked into the hostage crisis, which was when I was younger. Nobody like cared to figure out what that was really about. And now that we know that we live in the land of the LARPs, the land of the narrative and the TV signal, and that it's really just been narratives back and forth, it doesn't take conspiracy theorists to not just believe it, because you can't believe anything unless you understand it. But if you put some of the crumbs together, and you understand when this all started and where we're at now and why it's so important, like why would Trump be fucking with Iran? I mean, we're in the Great Awakening. Why is he fucking with Iran?
Exactly.
So that's when it becomes obvious. So then you let the conspiracy label in your brain go, and then you just go with it and you confirm more of your crumbs. Then you learn a little bit more of what Iran has been doing over the last 50 years. Then you learn at the same time what was the IDF doing over there, And then when you realize that it was our own OSS many years ago that trained all of the agents that would become Mossad, you realize that it's never been, it's never, we were the ones that trained them. And then when you say we, who is we, that circle goes right back to the people that first occupied Israel when they turned it into a state the size of New Jersey in the middle of Palestine. Wasn't supposed to be there. And last I heard, their lease was up a couple of years ago. I hadn't heard anyone collected rent. And best to my knowledge, if anyone's collected rent, it's Mr. Trump, President of the United States. He's the one that said he took over Gaza. I don't know what Bibi's talking about. You know what I mean? We know most of the war footage has been faked. You know what I mean? They didn't start showing dead fake babies until we said, hey, you guys are reporting this. They're cutting off baby heads in Ukraine. They're cutting off baby heads. These people are flying in on hand gliders and cutting off baby heads in the air. I didn't believe any of that from the beginning. The first bomb that Putin dropped in Ukraine wasn't dropped. It was a fake prop bomb, and it literally was spelled in Russian. It said for the children. So who the hell puts a message on a fake missile prop and then places it in a schoolyard and says for the children, which is the notes out. That's our mantra, or save the children. I apologize. So you have all these crumbs. So once you get enough crumbs that you can believe what you've been thinking, then you throw that other shit away. You forget what anyone's ever told you about. This ain't true. That can't be true. You forget about the losers and trolls here because they can't even come close to where you're at. And then you just kind of put the pieces to the puzzle together. So Trump's going to continue fighting this Iran deal. It's not going to go away until we puncture through the other side, which is where Israel's waiting. And everybody's going to think it's Israel because Israel is last. But people don't forget, you can't kill Israel unless you address the Vatican, because that's where the broadcast power signal, that's where it all goes, and that's where it comes from. That's why the Vatican was created. It was created as the deception mechanism for humanity. First thing they had to do is they had to take that signal coming from God. So what the Vatican did is they put a man in between us. They called him the Pope. And just to make sure, they put three of them, two of different colors. So because of their duality, black and white, and the normal one was for us, so gray, black, white, whatever. So that was, so the king signed off on the Balfour Declaration, make no mistake, but that was blessed by the Pope. In other words, nothing happened without the Pope. And that's the deal. So once we get to Israel, and I believe the only way we get to Israel publicly is if Bibi continues doing what he's doing, which is continue going against Trump. Sneaking. We see it. It's not sneaky to us, because we see it and we expect it because we know what Bibi is. But we also know Bibi's dead because we saw fake AI footage of Bibi last year. So you got to throw that into the equation. Only the Anons can, because we're willing to, suspend what you guys perceive to be reality from the TV. We know that it's one step away from being animated anyway. So this is all built for taking crumbs and putting them together to understand what's really happening and where we're headed. So Israel is last. I just believe my own honest is in order to find out what Israel is, which was originally set up as a deception, because nobody to this day really knows what it is. You have to get into and through the Vatican. And the reason why I believe that to be true is because, yet again, that's another thing that we were told symbolically that was taken care of. And that was 2019 when Trump sent General Barr and John Durham together at once over to the Vatican in 2019 to raid their financial offices, the secretariat offices. So it's always about fun, following the money. But that's again another dot, another crumb.
Well,
So we'll see what happens.
Well, you said something here in the a little bit ago about the things that, like, all this stuff that we're talking about, the babies' heads and all that stuff. You didn't really believe that was happening, and all these videos that we're seeing of a war and all that stuff. Did it really happen? Things aren't always as they seem, right? Well, we have. Did you see this morning where Jake Tapper, they're coming out and they're now, see, everybody, they're starting to come out and tell the truth, right? They have to. He's basically coming out admitting that they all knew that Biden wasn't really ever the president or calling the shots. Did you see that he came out and said that?
Yes.
I think that's
Yes,
huge.
I saw that yesterday, as a matter of fact.
But again, everybody, many of us have been spewing this stuff for a long time. Everybody's like, no, 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 no. But like, here it is. I mean, it's for public consumption. So this is a prime example of what we talk about. Things aren't always as they seem, right? We know that this has been happening and they've known something. We've been spewing it for a long time, many of us in here, but now it's just coming out for the people that are still dead ass asleep, because once CNN says it and he's an anchor for CNN, now they're going to believe it, everybody.
And that's why sometimes it's challenging because, when you talk to somebody like me, if you're going to have a conversation with me about these topics, I have to talk to you about it in the only way that I do. And not many people are there, they're somewhere else, and that's not, so it's like, for instance, I just put it up. I don't know if you guys can see it in the Purple Pill. And this is a virtual production company that's, based in France. At your leisure, not now, but at your leisure, take a look at it and take a look at the video clip. And this is literally a company that's owned by French television, by the government, and it's a virtual studio. And they literally work in a virtual world with Google Earth. They have all of Google Earth mapped out, they have access to it. And, their job is to take their AI and augment their stories that they put out. So why would they do that? So we've all seen like the fake from the 80s, CNN, the background falls and you see the green screen, the blue screen. We've all seen those clips. We saw the guy smoking the cigarette and a pile of bodies during the COVID, so you see that, but like people don't extrapolate that into reality. They go, "Oh, look, there's a guy that's smoking." I mean, it's like, but he's supposed to be dead. It's like people don't stop and think about that for just a second. It's like, whoa, 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 hold up on that car wash just for a second. So you're telling me, because that's what I do. I have, you pause the TV and you say, "Honey, come here for a second. See that pile of dead bodies? Yeah, honey. So that guy right there, he's going to he's half in a bag and he's going to smoke a cigarette." And I saw this on Fox News reported the other night as dead body. What's the deal with this? I don't know. Maybe, and like she's about to say, maybe he just needed a smoke, but I could see it in her brain when it hit that he's supposed to be a dead body. So that's when art imitates life, life imitates art, and what's on the TV comes into real life. And I could see that it sharply bothered her because she couldn't understand, but she's got me to tell her not to worry about it. You'll see a lot more of it. But people, if you don't stop and register that, it's kind of like talking to whatever AI model you're working with now, and then if you come back like a couple days later and say, "Hey, remember what we were talking?" It doesn't know what the fuck, it doesn't remember. And it doesn't remember unless you tell it to remember and record it. So as anons, we've consumed so much data, so much information, it just became natural to us because we knew what the bullet points of the script were to continue paying attention to everything, having the confidence that at some point we'll be able to push that down through the gooseneck and figure out what was important, what are crumbs, what's relevant, what we should look for in terms of future food proofs past. So we had a lot of buckets that we had to put our data points and research into. And we didn't know that right up front because they didn't tell us. I mean, when they started saying proof, the future proofs past, we were looking back to like, did we miss something when we were kids or something like that? Everything was gradual. That's why the beginning, the 4chan drops were all about education. They were all about Constitution, federal laws and orders, what different types of presidential powers were available to the president and the executive branch, what powers were available to the other branches of government, the judicial, the legislative. If there was a battle between the three, what would this one have to do in order to win over this one? And how could this one fuck it up? So that was all of the 4chan jobs, 4chan drops. So looking back now, that was basically put there as the foundation. in case anything happened in real life that didn't go the way we thought it would, we would be able to look back to those 4chan drops and say, wait a minute, guys, this is like the foundation here of this building. And, you know, maybe you guys fell off the track, but there's no way that this story could have went in that direction, because right here, we know what laws and orders are out. We know the Constitution. We know what your policy, statutes, etc. You know, so if Trump has these powers, and if he announces this or declares this, we know that this whole list of powers opens up, and he can do this, and he doesn't have to announce that. You know what I mean? So, and when he posts on Truth Social, did you guys know that those are like presidential proclamations that
Yep.
go into the official? I mean, same thing with Twitter. You know, there's a degree of a difference over there on the Truth Social side, because there's a certain way that the ownership was set up there. So Trump's Truth Social is literally like a presidential alert system. The way it's set up, it's literally set up as though it had the same amount of bandwidth as a presidential alert signal will have, in terms of what it means, what it states, what it proclaims. Like if he was to go out there and proclaim the Insurrection Act, he can go over and do it on Truth Social if he wants. You know, and also during certain circumstances, you know, the Insurrection Act can be enacted without being announced. Because remember, if the main broadcast device that a POTUS would use to announce an emergency like that, if that in itself were corrupt, right, he would have to go around that. And that goes back to when Trump first started talking about his use of Twitter, when he first started giving winks to the Anons, working on 4chan and 8chan. And he said initially we had to set up these forms of communication because we had to go around the mainstream media. They wouldn't report what I was telling you. So that's why I'm going directly to you. And then he used to bake that into his, you know, early rally, you know, speeches and whatnot. So that's like a little setup. We can go anywhere with that now.
Well, you know, and like I always say, everybody, if you guys are just really confused, and I get the confusion on who to follow or who to listen to, go over to True Social. Not many people are over on True Social. Follow Donald Trump, because he really is telling us, guys, without coming out directly telling us. Why don't we touch on this? I'm sure you probably saw this too, about Trump's receiving a call from Congress regarding the billions in revenue that they received on the tariffs. I think it was like 888. Let me look at it. Sorry, 888 billion in tariffs and revenue that he has collected. So everybody, tariffs work. So for people say that they don't work and they're bitching about it, like I don't know, they might want to think twice about it. What are your thoughts on that, Rubberduck?
Well, I mean, don't forget the as far as the whole tariff narrative. I mean, and I'm going back to the beginning when he announced the tariffs. I believe that the tariffs were the tariffs represent what has happened to the countries that violated Trump's executive orders 13818 and 13848. One having to do with foreign entities involved in our federal elections, and also foreign entities that are involved in international child trafficking, crimes against children, human trafficking, blah, blah, blah. And those two, and just to put it in a nutshell, those two executive orders stated that if you are a foreign entity, state, country, whatever you are, whatever you represent, company, CEO, corporation, doesn't matter where you are, where your money's located, if you are convicted by our U.S. military intelligence of being a company that has trafficked children, crimes against children, etc., you're fucked. We own you. We own your infrastructure. We own everything. We own the air above your country. We own the water in your country. We own the land, the resources, and everything beneath the ground of your country. Done deal. Same thing with if you've committed, if you're a foreign entity, country, CEO, whatever you are, person or place or thing. If you fucked with our elections, we own you. We own your military. We own every asset. We have the Space Force. We have the wizards and warlocks. We have the full power of the United States military and all of the fucking alien tech that we've learned and created weapons with throughout the country under the guise of the CIA. So that's us right now. And we have a lot of good people with red folders. And if you've gotten a red folder, we own your shit. And within the contents of that red folder is a script containing many scripts for you and for whoever you want to keep on board that ain't going to be dead. And you're going to follow this shit for the next 10 years. You'll be a movie star on TV, just like in MASH. And when that fucking thing is over, we call the shots. I think that's how everything went down, in my opinion.
Central casting. And he also raised the tariffs on China recently, I think another 50%. Did you see that? I think it starts
And
next
I don't
year.
think he's going to get any pushback. I mean,
Uh,
look at it. The two people that have not gotten involved with anything Trump has done are Putin and Xi. Those are the two only people that could have ever done anything on the world stage that could have any impact on us. And I think that has made me feel easier because it goes with what I expected. Because during Trump's first term, remember, he pushed it, bashed it into our brain using MK Ultra. I'm very good friends with Trump. I got a great, MK Ultra goes both ways. If you don't got the fucking time for people to remember and learn shit, you use MK Ultra to get it in there. I am friends with Putin. I am friends with Xi. We have an extraordinary relationship. He never said Russia. He said Russia's a great country. China's a great country, but see what people are missing is we have the same cabal, the same deep state, the same administrative state, whatever you want to call it, the same satanic occult that runs everything from behind. Well, it runs our country, it runs China, it runs Russia, it runs every country had their own little deep state, but they were all hidden. So what Trump did is Trump knew exactly where they were hidden, thanks to Palantir and our great military earlier on, and they eliminated them. They were able to find the children, rescue the children, prosecute a war. The war took no time because when you have Palantir, you don't miss with your bullets. You fire one bullet, dead, 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 dead. You have drones, dead, 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 dead. So believe me, they didn't waste a bullet, they didn't waste a missile. And this thing happened, and it happened quickly. And whatever rescue operation took place, because you're always going to have casualties of war, but in this case, this was like a whole civilization underground, within these ancient tunnel and networking systems beneath the ground, where a lot of that shit happened. You know what I mean? And we needed to find a way to move that part of humanity up here into the real world, to the 3D world. And I think that's the assimilation that's been taking place. Has nothing to do with border issues. What did everybody just press a button in every border on Earth? Just, for what reason? Who would that serve? Not the Great Awakening. So why else would there be these who's moving? Why is there so much humanity moving? Like, what's causing the push? It's like it's got to start where there are billions of babies born no. But if you all of a sudden have like millions and millions of people spread throughout the world, part human or not, you know what I mean? Inverted people or not, victims of that were born and bred underneath the earth in these massive dumps to the tune of millions of people. They got to be rescued. They didn't do anything wrong. They're victims. I'm sure many of them were lost and casualty. There were people lost up here during this war, and that's the way it works. It was either that or civil war in every country on earth, and we'd all be dead, or living in a cave that we had to dig ourselves, or living in those
concentration
plastic
camps.
fucking FEMA fucking coffins.
Yep.
So that was it. They were going to go in and take Obama out, you know what I mean, with force before Trump ever came in. But Trump signed on. They were able to leverage the military power that they had at the time, because even if you had the military to defeat this, say, like if you knew that the tables were turned and that you had the power and the leverage, just beating them is not enough. Because even if you deleted every occult cabal person on earth, you would have this massive infrastructure that would fall apart with it. So that's the reason why they had to run these systems side by side for whatever period of time they thought they would, so that they can control it, so that even if it did die and go away, nobody really noticed it, because the buildings and shit are still there. The money is still here, but everything that they represented are gone and slowly replaced, whether Trump killed, whether they were assassinated, whether they were put to death, whether they're in Gitmo, whether they stepped down, whether they retired, whether they died of natural causes or weird shit, whether they were killed during the COVID, whatever it is, the people that were there running things, when I say things, I mean everything. And 2016, if you had a big chart on your wall with the top 1,000 people and companies and corporations, power structure of America on one wall 10 years ago, today, that would be about 90% depleted. Like 90% of those forces would be gone, if not more. And the rest of them would be under control. This has to be a total thing, guys. You can't just leave a little bit. You kill the head of the snake. If it's got more heads, you got to chop all the heads off.
Man, are
You
there
know
a
what I
lot of
mean?
heads of snakes?
We know what happened to this tribe. We know how many. Listen, think about it. We know how many countries this tribe was barred from and banned from, right? So what they did between the last time they were banned and now, they found a way that a normal person couldn't say that. You're a Jew, you should be banned, because they shouldn't have used the word Jew, because they should have known that that word was already obfuscated and they should have found another way to do it, but they didn't. And that tells me that they were never in control, so that they needed the narrative. It was a TV narrative that was needed in order to win this war and save the world, believe it or not. The very device and process used to enslave us is what they've been using to break that signal, to break that spell, and get us back into reality. And more importantly, the reality needed to be in such a way that it wouldn't collapse with us waking up. Because how you just going to wake up and start, operating in a world that's been different from anything you've ever seen or known? So lots of this is emotional, spiritual, mental. A lot of this is personal. That's why no two people's journey is the same. Nobody looks at things exactly the way I do. You guys hear me talk about it, but some people believe it, some people don't. Some people it makes sense to, some people it doesn't. Even when I talk to my wife like this, I mean, I know when she's looking at me, she believes me. I know that she doesn't understand a lot of what I'm talking about.
She's
But the
looking
only
at you
reason why is
sideways.
yeah, but listen, if she was glued next to me and forced to watch all of the live streams, the thousands of hours of content, and the reading, and reading the Constitution front and back, reading laws and orders front and back, learning how the country works front and back, maritime admiralty law as best you can. You know what I mean? Learning how to exit the system. What was David Straight taught? Like, we befriended each other and everyone in order to figure out this fucking web. And just because we can't sit there and declare what it is exactly, I don't think that was my job or anyone's job. I think our job was just to listen. We know how to navigate this shit until it's over. God willing, we survive the whole thing. You know what I mean? Because it's a natural process. It has to happen by the book and organically. The same dark spells and black magic they use to enslave us and fool us. That's the same process that they're going to have to use to kill all of that and close the book. Because the only thing that can kill their dark energy and their dark spells is white energy and white spells. And I'm sorry, but we are not those types of magicians. But I would wager that if they exist, those are the wizards and warlocks in charge.
Amen.
And that's the only way they were to do it, And Field used to have a way of explaining that was a little more eloquent than me. But if you're going to suspend your belief system in order to get here, then why would you get here and then put your old belief system back? Just keep pushing forward, as scary as it gets, because when you get to the other side of fear, you realize that everything you see and everything you hear from that point forward is new. And then you have a chance to consume it, analyze it, and then you decide if you move forward with that as truth. It's not about being right or wrong. That's why I don't get involved in any of these, spaces and, some of the quabbles that people have back and forth, because there's no point to it. This isn't a right or wrong thing. This is all about truth. And if you're doing anything that goes to the side, either left or right of that, then that's not for me right now. That's not for us. You know what I mean? It's good for distraction, but, just keep pushing forward. Like Jenny says, keep pushing forward. Like I always tell you, if you're going to invest your time in a space like this, at a podcast like this, with any of these folks, because this is what Jenny does and she does it for a reason. When it's done, you should feel a lot better than when you first started listening. And you should feel at least a lot more informed. Right. And those of us who I know, you'll walk away wanting to go research stuff for yourself, because that's what it is. It's like you have your own homework assignments, but you don't need me to tell you anything that didn't make sense. Go look on it yourself. Let that become something that you plug in on your own. I still do that every single day. When I listen to Juan and Jenny, I walk away. I feel a little bit better. Juan usually says one or two or three things that, I need to go look at myself because I hadn't heard them before. And lo and behold, that becomes part of my new narrative. And that's how it works. I trust Juan. And you don't have to know him in order to trust him or not, somebody like him, because all you're looking at is the information and the data points, and you keep listening until one either sinks completely or falls out of sync completely. And that's it. And you take those data points, you confirm them, you see which way to go, and then you know where your level of trust is. And that's it. That's how it works. And that's how I do it.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Who we got
100%.
up here today, honey?
Well, we've got Golden Ages up here, and then everybody here, request a mic. We're here for you. Ask questions. I remember my podcast isn't about my voice; it's about the
I see
guests.
Jersey, I see Stellar, I see Tina. Come on up, guys.
They're all here, but they're not. I've sent Jersey a mic. I sent Stella a mic. Like, come on, ladies and gentlemen. But like I said, we're here for you guys. It's not about my voice; it's about the audience voice and my guest voice. So please request a mic. There's never a dumb question. We are here for you guys. So go ahead, Golden Age.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
So just to build a little bit on, what Duck was talking about is that inquisitive nature that, kind of leads us here, and we keep going down these rabbit holes and absorbing, lots of stuff. I would highly suggest that what I do is, if I see a post on something, I then scroll down to see the comment section on it and see who's commenting. And if I see a comment that is interesting, then I'll go over to that person's page and I'll look at what they've got in their page, so that the amount of information you can get from anons or just people in general on X it's outstanding. I mean, I've learned so much. And what's also good account to follow is that Poppy Trumpo account. Now, supposedly that was his burner account when they removed him from X after his presidency. And that account, is where he kind of lets loose a little bit. I'm sure he's not doing the posting, but he's probably got oversight on it. But it always gives you an idea of if he's not sweating it and he's not worried, then I certainly am not, no matter what's going on.
Real quickly, Golden Age too. I'm not trying to interrupt you. I apologize, but before you get too far off of that, El Papi Trumpo, he has already basically confirmed that is his account. So you're correct on that.
Yeah, I was pretty sure it was. I had a friend in New York. She was freaking out when they had all those drones going off back in, I guess that was just towards the end of fake Biden. Really concerned about what's going on. I told her, go over to Poppy Trumpo account. He's not very concerned about it. So if I were you, I wouldn't worry about it either. And the developments that are going on today, really exciting stuff. I mean, we got the green flag yesterday during the Freedom 250 race. Trump pretty much pulled back on the war games with North and South Korea. I was listening to Gene Decode. I don't know how you guys feel about him, but I was checking out his stuff. Really interesting stuff he's putting out there. And
great
I got
one to
to tell
listen
you,
to. Definitely a great one to listen to.
yeah, he did a recent. If you go to YouTube and look up Gene Decode, he did a recent whatever you call it, YouTube thing. And you guys should check that out. Really good. Lots of great stuff. He did talk about some stuff that, by and large, this is, it's a movie. A lot of the heavy lifting, the operation has been done. But there's still going to be some kinetic stuff that goes on in this country that will be real. I mean, people are going to get hurt. People are going to get killed. There's a lot of terrorist cells in this country. There's a lot of things here. And I kind of think that, pulling out of Iraq, reducing our military in Spain and other places, bring them back home, because we still have to clean up the homeland, so we can't lose sight of that. We still have to, whether the election takes place or not. I don't think it's going to in November. I think they're going to put it on pause because there's just too much fraud, corruption, and abuse going on there. But there does need to be cleanup in this country. There are some, our cities are a mess regardless. Maybe a movie, but there are definitely people getting hurt in the cities. New York is, on fire, LA's on fire, etc. So we all need to hang in there, continue to band together, and trust the plan, but also be inquisitive and curious. And one of the things I was going to say too, kind of like when you did talk about cutting off the head of the snake, duck, and the other heads up here. It's kind of like as a kid, you kind of used to, even as an adult. I mean, I would just wish we could get rid of all the evil people in this world, and that's kind of what this operation is. It's not getting rid of the people that you don't like or the bad people. We are talking about this operation is from top to bottom, and it's to get rid of the evil ones. We all make mistakes. I mean, my past is checkered as hell. But fortunately, I'm not an evil person, but I made a lot of mistakes, as a lot of us have, and that's what the military operation is about. It's about going against Hydra and getting rid of this evil cabal that has infiltrated humanity for centuries now. So thank God, it's finally happening. We should all be super excited and, say a prayer every day, thanking God. I choose the Our Father. So that's just me.
Thank you, Golden Age. Great information. Thank you so much. All right, let's see. We've got go ahead, Stellar, and then Jersey, and then Eva. I'm going to open up your mic. Go ahead, Stellar.
Good morning, everybody. Isn't it wonderful how much we're winning?
I love it. It's awesome. I wish everybody had that attitude.
Well, I know that Jack has heard everything about Descent and all the things that are going on the Treasury side, these shady countries that are laundering to Iran for black oil, the black money oil stuff, whatever. It looks like there's a banking institution or some sort of financial institution in the next couple of days that may have been assisting in this stuff. I just think it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And I missed you. I miss you guys.
Oh, thank you, Stellar. Thank you for being here, hon. Go ahead, Jersey. What's up, girl?
Thank you, Stella. What's up, Jersey?
Oh, Jersey girl.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
Good to see you all. I just wanted to tell you something. I wanted to say that I've been seeing a lot of TV color bars, and today we all have, I know. And today, guess what happened? The CNN feed is broken. It said the media company is having technical issues with audio and video. If their feed breaks down, that's like you do the East Coast feed, the West Coast feed, the in the middle feed, whatever, the East Coast, North, East Coast, South. There's a lot of feeds, and the TV news companies depend on those feeds so that they can get their video from around the country of things that had happened today or whatever. So I was wondering, Duck, what do you think about seeing, because we're all experiencing it, we all see it. What do you think is going on, Duck?
What do I think? Oh, I don't. We all see things like differently that we pick up on, but I mean, we all know what we're expecting. I fully, expect that. Well, I don't really have expectations. I just know that at some point, the signal will be interrupted again, but it won't be for a reason like COVID, and the reason why I believe that is because all signs point to that. If you're, if you're if you're looking for something, if you're tracking something, you want to always keep it simple. You can't track something if you're paying attention to 50 different signals. You know what I mean? At one time, you got to go with the strongest signal and just continue with that. Like right now, I'm looking at Trump, and he's talking about school and stuff, school's choice. He's live on TV
That's
right now at the
huge.
White House talking. But he's also dropping little things here and there, and also his hair looks completely different. I mean, are you guys seeing
It
this? Like,
does.
it's not.
What is he?
He
6
doesn't have
foot?
hair
Is
like
he
that.
5'10"? Which one is it today?
And I'm just saying, he's very slunched over. And I don't say this a lot. I don't. But if there are, and I know there are, but that's a doppelganger. And look at his eyes; they're too close together. Yeah, that's whatever. But it's different. It's new. You know what I mean? I won't go all conspiracy on you, but I'm just looking at this, and I'm looking at his hair, and I'm like, He does not have hair like that. That's brown and thick and wavy. He's got very thin, very rock hard hairsprayed hair. So, interesting.
Well, it's been said many times out there that there's a few of him walking around. I mean, if you look at his eyes, his hair's always a different color. His eyes, his
Yeah, and his
height.
eyes are
He's got
different degrees of puffiness underneath his eyes, I've noticed
he's
too.
got piercing blue eyes normally, but and when you see him sometimes you'll see they're like brown. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. That kind of because I just
You
looked at
got
him like,
distracted.
whoa,
No,
holy
it's just,
central casting.
we've all been noticing it. It's like, who is this person?
Yeah, you guys. Can you imagine watching TV with me? And I'm sitting on the couch watching TV with my wife every fucking 5 minutes, and I don't know how she deals with it. But it's like, hey, hun, that's not really him. Well, how do you know? Well, because it's a she. Well, how do you know that? Well, look at the neck. That's like all. That's my life, and that's the way it is until everybody knows, until everybody understands. It's just, and I tell her it'll be like that. The quickest thing that I can do is catch myself before I, talk too much. But imagine that, having to hold back from what you know and believe to be true, so that you need to let the other person stay in the spell a little bit because they're not fully ready yet. Imagine having to live a life like that. And I know that we all do because we have to play those little games, when we interact with our family and friends and work and stuff like that. You have to decide what you can and can't talk about. But isn't it funny that if you've been doing that for almost 10 years now, look at all the stuff that you did that with 10 years ago, that all of a sudden you couldn't say the word pedophile to a person at work. They would fucking turn you into HR. You'd be dead. You'd be gone. Now it's like, that's like it's brought up in work meetings. You know what I mean? Hey, do you hear this guy's a pedo and this guy's, oh my God. So, like I said, we've come a long way, but because we're all part of the plan, because we are all part of the script, you know what I mean? The anons and the normies were written into it. You know what I mean? I think that's the measure that they're using. You know what I mean? The more of us and the less of them, I think that'll be the bar of measure because, normies, the only place they have to go is anon. You know what I mean? So they probably made it binary like that because it's easier to tell when you're going to pull a plug on a certain narrative. It would only make sense if you're in charge of the surveillance apparatus and you're using that, to gauge buy-in from the populace, which is what they did. I would wager that, we're getting to that point right now, where they either won't have to do that or whenever they see that the gap is closed enough, that's when they'll focus the signal and it will just be Trump, just like at the beginning of the COVIDs. I mean, the collective world waited for Trump to give those little announcements every day, a little update, and his update was about everything. He talked about the market, he talked about everything. He never commented about what we knew was happening in the background. You know what I mean? But that was one major form of communication. I think Trump's role during that period of time, the early parts, especially of the COVID, were to keep those of us calm, and at least in a state, not us, but those who were surrounding us at that time, to let them know, guys, listen, everything's okay. We got this. We're moving forward. We're doing this. We're doing the vaccine. You don't have to worry. Because remember, the initial expectation from people that believed in the pandemic was, holy fuck, we need a vaccine. So Trump had lots of different narratives to fill at that time because there were lots of different expectations 6 years ago that are different now that needed to be filled, in my opinion. And again, I don't take any of that. I don't believe in the COVID was anything that they told us, and I know that we've all learned that it was something different. But what I believe kind of fits in with the entire, all right, let's do a military app, but we need to disguise it as like a 10-year TV show with an arc with various narratives and reoccurring characters. And, we're the military, so we know how to fight, but we have the PSYOPs division. So we're going to commandeer all of Hollywood. We're going to take, Spielberg, and we're going to take, Reiner, and, we'll kill him off so we can have him. But we want you guys to produce and direct Biden's campaign, and we'll have our guys direct the Great Awakening. And, on J6, we'll do a little something there, but we need those laptops. Got to get those laptops, so let's do that. And, we'll get another use out of this. The Anons, they're getting a little bit too close to the script. So maybe they could use a little zap, we'll give them a year and a half off the internet to relax and, learn how to research again without emotion. And, just to make sure they don't get too close again, we're going to release the bots and the fake influencers. And that's what happened during the J6. We were replaced by all of the people that we are fighting with on the internet right now. That's our replacement. So as you can see, we're battening them down now and we're winning. You know what I mean? And because we knew it back then, but now the average normie on the internet needs to see that there were influencers here. They all came here at the same time and they all had the same narrative. Ours didn't change. In fact, we're here to bring you back the seeds that, we were just feeding you before J6. So those who were really with us, they'll stay with us. And those that are really searching for the truth, they'll catch up real quick. And I think that's kind of where we're at now. We're getting all of our people together. The Anons had quite a formidable, and Juan will tell you, we were quite formidable. We were much bigger than the narratives that they were putting together on the television. And all of the narratives that we were countering the television narrative with back then, it's no coincidence that those are all of the different narrative strings that are ready to be pulled now. We talked about Epstein first. We talked about aliens first. We talked about foreign interference in elections first. We talked about child trafficking, pedophilia, what these people were really into, and those were such outlandish and such outrageous claims about people that everyone knows and sees on television that they have their entire lives. So we were already on the other side of that emotional arc of, waking up, understanding everything is a lie and going through the depression and going through the loneliness and all of that stuff, and so we were going through that 10 years ago. I would say at this point now, maybe 7, 8 years ago. So we were ready when COVID came, mentally and emotionally and spiritually. You know what I mean? We had to deal with the same shit everybody else did, but, we didn't have to deal with that too. And most people never take into account the spiritual, emotional, and spiritual, emotional, and mental journey that's just a part of everyday life. People think that, it's a piece of cake. And then all of a sudden you start doing what you need to do, and the spiritual and emotional part catches up to you. You can't deal with it, and you're all of a sudden curled up in a ball in the shower crying with the Crying Game song playing in the background, So you have to deal with it, and you have to deal with it head on first, emotionally and spiritually, so that you can even decide to deal with it in real life. So that's kind of the way we were taught to do it. Deal with it in the mind first. That's why we're here telling you what's happening, what's going to happen. And we're telling you that at some point, we don't know when in the future, the TV is going to tell you what we're telling you is happening right now in real life. This war that we're talking about, all this weird shit that you're hearing and the news is reporting, like weird weather, weird explosions, blah, blah, blah. That's really us. And we're winning.
Yeah.
Because
I got some questions
so
for you,
that's the
Rubberduck.
deal, right? Go
Okay,
ahead, honey.
so I've got one here real quickly. Even then we'll come to you and Tina Q. From Unsilent Majority over here on Rumble 87. Unsilent Majority 87 says, Rubberduck, do you think we are close to them using the EBS, or do you think there's going to be a different route?
I believe in that. I believe that, I believe that there will be a focused signal. We were expecting the EBS, a long time ago, and some of us got it, for the fake missile strike that happened against Air Force One. But do I think that the emergency broadcast? Yeah, I don't know if it will come in the form of what we're expecting. You know what I mean? Initially, I remember, when I first, my vision of the emergency broadcast system, when they would launch that, it would be at a point where we wouldn't have to worry about any war. Everything would be over. And the last pieces to put in place, which would be arrests and the financial system. In other words, let people know what happened with the financial system, but don't get too upset, because when you wake up tomorrow, we're going to start working this process and we're all in it together. Just like Trump did at the beginning of the COVID. Remember, everyone was, what the fuck is happening? I just got sent
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
home from work. Why am I staying inside? What's the deal with the mask? Like, that was some pretty fucking traumatic shit. And Trump got on every day. Don't worry about it. Just do what they want you to do. Stay the 6 feet. Just do it. We know what it is. Just do it. That same type of deal. And I believe that that's what will happen with another EBS. But it won't be, because at the rate of, even if they're disclosing everything, it's happening so quickly and like a fire hydrant 24/7 that nobody is picking up everything. Even anons, that are coming back to the scene, nobody can keep up with a 24/7 fire hydrant. And it's on a cycle. It's almost on a 24-hour cycle completely, like everything over and over and over and over again. But unless you break out of that cycle, leaving behind some of that doubt that you first went into it with, you're just going to stay in that cycle, man, until the end, until you get the EBS signal, and then you'll faint and you'll miss it. But yeah, I do believe we'll see the EBS signal. I do believe it will come most likely, at the very end. And if it's not an EBS signal, then I could see something along the lines of a faked alien invasion, or perhaps a missile coming from somewhere, something made up by the TV. But remember, the EBS signal is activated by the president. It can't just be him pressing a button. There is a presidential alert system that Trump controls himself. But as far as the EBS, that has to do with the FCC, and that has to do with FEMA, and that has to do with the executive branch. So there are three, like, everyone has a key, like the silos to open up for the missile launches, whatever. It's a similar process if you're going to launch an emergency broadcast signal, the one with the colors that all fade out and then the message comes. That has to go from the president, and the head of FEMA has to agree, and the head of the FCC has to agree. And all I know is that the head of the FCC and the head of FEMA are both Trump people that were confirmed in this administration when he came back into office. And that was very, very, very important. Jay Clayton.
Thank you, Rubberduck. All right, go ahead, Eva. And then after Eva, you can go ahead, Tina Q, and then Stellar. Go ahead, Eva.
Hey, Jenny. I hope you're doing good.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Duck. And
Hi,
Stellar.
Eva.
So I have a question. Do you guys usually drop people, take the mics away after they are done talking or asking a question?
It depends. It depends on how many people are up here on the stage. If we're trying to get other people up here to ask questions, why? That's kind of random.
Well, hey, you know that I've had my mic taken from me quite a few times.
Not here.
And okay, well, I was just asking because last week I said something about it, and then I went to ask another question. I'm like, I'm down to listener. But last week you did have a lot of people up here, so okay. But I have a question. What kind of birds do you have, Duck?
I have cockatiels, finches, and quails.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I have budgies and I hear them talking all the time. Mine, if I go in there and if I'm listening to music, they like singing and stuff like that. But I have a question about the bad weather. Okay, so August 11th. I'm in the suburbs. I don't give a shit. I mean, if they're gonna take me out, they're gonna take me out. I'm in the suburbs of Cincinnati, Ohio, and we got hit with some really bad weather back when on the 11th, and I was without electric till that Friday, and then also something that never ever happens is the cell signal, kept going down, and then I'm thinking, okay, so boots on the ground, the military must be in doing something, and then the cell towers, they can't communicate with each other. So I don't know. That's what's going through my brain. And then I'm seeing, and Duke Energy is, in the area. And it was kind of weird because there was only like 30 houses on my street. And every street around us, the electric was on. I'm like, well, that's weird. I had to throw out all my food. I'm still, battling with trying to get my air conditioner working right, which I'm trying to do that myself here in a little bit. If you don't hear from me, again, it's probably because I got electrocuted because I'm going to end up changing out my own.
Help me, Eva. Help me. Let's land this Hindenburg.
Okay. So, would that be something that's actually going on? Because I know Ohio is really bad, and so are they still using the direct energy weapons in HARP?
Whatever weapons were used against us were commandeered and being used to flush them off the earth, one way or the other. So, do I believe that it's all everything? No. But I have a lot of different thoughts about weather than I did 10 years ago, too. So, that includes hurricanes and El Nino, El Nina, and whatever fucking Mexican name they use for fake weather shit, So, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. Okay, well, thank you.
Good job, honey. I would never mute you.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
They,
All right.
I will push you along a little bit to help you land your blimp, but I
Oh,
will never ever mute you.
wait a minute. Are you related to Derek?
No, I'm related to William Wallace. Derek is his own dude, and he's a great dude.
He is a great dude, but you also get long-winded like him too. So back at you. I land my
thank
unicorn.
you, Eva. Go ahead, Tina Q.
Best to your budgies.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hi. This question, it could be for either Jenny or Rubber Duck. I was watching D Class on Saturday night, and they played a video of Trump from 2023. He was being interviewed, and I can't remember who it was. And they were talking about the border, and Trump said, not, it might happen. He said 100% we're going to get invaded, a terrorist attack from the people coming over the border. And we've been hearing that for all his rallies. We've been hearing that, but he actually said 100% it's going to happen. Yesterday, I don't know if you guys saw the post. Now, I don't care for the messenger, but the message, it was Laura Loomer, who we know gets fed information. You know, she's been on Air Force One and she's now at the White House, and we know not Trump or whoever gives her information to put out there as part of the movie. She came out with a long post yesterday about what the Muslims are using the mosque for, and they're storing their guns and their ammunitions and all kinds of things. And she was warning that we're going to have a terrorist attack from the people that came over the border. And she made a long post about that yesterday. And then after seeing Trump Saturday night, going back to 2023, saying we will, and then he mentioned how they're military aged, and we all know that. We saw men, no women, no children. What are your thoughts? I think that might be our scare event.
So what I think is Trump and his team is always 100 steps of everybody, right? So if he's saying this, they already are anticipating something. It's funny you say that because I just posted that on my feed, and I tagged Donald Trump, Cash, Todd Blanche. But this is why we say head on a swivel, everybody. And you hear Juan always say, it's going to be 13 times worse than like 9/11. So whether it be financially, whatever it's going to be, I'm hearing, I was hearing something in a space this morning that I think Stella, you were in it about the fuel for the airlines. They're short on that. And then I was
Buffalo.
yeah,
That
there
was
you
last
go.
night. Buffalo they had to divert planes.
Yeah.
That was a big deal
So
too. They
Oh, but
sent out
it's
a
and then I'm
NOTAM
hearing
for that.
about
yeah,
food.
it's
Hang on a
it,
second. I'm hearing about food. So we have to be prepared, guys. I don't want to do the fear, but I did see that. But I do believe the Donald Trump and timelines have been thwarted. Like a lot of people are now coming out talking about this Navy map of, half of the West Coast being in the ocean. Like that timeline has been thwarted. So pay attention. Don't be fearful. And Robert Duck, I want your opinion. And Stellar, go ahead as soon as I'm done about the airlines. But you guys got to be aware. This is why we've been in this mental boot camp training that we've been doing. Prepare, get water, get food, that, and the other. Just if there's something like that happens, just stay out of it. Don't try to be out there and be a captain, save a hero, right? Because so many people want to go out there and I'm a badass or whatever, and that's when
There's
people
not going to be an out there to go to, guys.
and
Don't you understand?
that's when people will get hurt. So anyway,
Remember
go
with the
ahead.
border? Remember when they were all going to fucking run down? Oh, let's all go run down to the border and, we'll grab Ivan and all the others and let's just run around and collect people. What the fuck is that? Are you kidding me? No fucking way. And it's, don't listen, We're in the middle of a movie. Why would you run and jump and want to get into the movie? You're not an actor. You're not part of the SAG. You know what I mean? It's like, stay out of it. That's why they told us there's nothing you can do but enjoy the show. Because why? You're watching a movie. Well, it must be a very good movie. You're correct. What makes a movie great? Good actors. Okay, where's the actors in the movie? How are they doing the movie? Hollywood. But Hollywood's really not the military. Yes, it is. It's like, does anybody not get this? Leave it alone. Stop giving emotional feelings towards digital dead people. You know what I mean? That's what
And
I'm talking
remember,
about. So
and
it's
con-
like, it's
and
just you have to detach your emotion. You can see it and understand it, but you don't have to oh my God, they just said, listen, when I was over at the World Trade Center, right, and One Liberty Plaza, right, on the 26th floor on September 11th, and when I finally made it home that day after not seeing a plane hit the South Tower, they said 50,000 people were dead. I said, bullshit, they got us all out because I was there, so it's like, yeah, you can't. It's hard. I could sit here and say you can't and make it sound easy. So rather than say that, when you hear something like that you would perceive would be something that would shut the country down, like an invasion, you can run with that. But just in your mind, understand that it could 100% and more likely is fake, number one. Number two,
and
never
consider the
worry about.
source and
One second,
consider
honey.
this.
Let me finish the second part of it. Whatever you see on the television is not something that you should worry about happening in your backyard unless it's something that you can stand in your backyard and see. Does that make sense? That keeps in other words, keep your system closed. Don't just because the TV tells you 1 million people or 1,000 people died over here and over there, you don't need to get emotionally involved with that. It's not your job to do that. You have your own life, your own family to worry about. And there's a very good chance that that is not true and that it's not what they are telling you. So, first step should be back. Give yourself time. Jenny says 72 hours. We all say that. But don't just immediately and willfully give your trust and faith to what they say, because that brings with it, emotional and mental ties and connections to it. Sorry, Jenny, go ahead, honey.
No, you're good. I just going to say, and consider the source too, everybody. I mean, if you know about Laura Loomer and you dig into her past, there's some nefarious stuff going on there. I do believe she is, as everybody has a part in this, right? Making deals, you're going to help us take it down. But I also do believe that we are being fed good information and bad information, and we have to be able to decipher through our discernment, right? What is real and what isn't. They got to keep us distracted somehow, right? So a lot of people are going to see that. And yeah, they're going to have that feeling, Tina Q, many people. Great question, by the way. But we also have to consider the source, everybody, because there's a lot of people out there that have nefarious backgrounds that are being used for such a time as this. So always remember that, like Duck says, enjoy the show. Well, we all say it many times, enjoy the show, right? So yeah, good question on that, because I just saw that. And I put it out there and just tagged POTUS and Cash and stuff, because people are going to see that and they are going to freak out. But Juan, when he speaks, he never really talks about like a terrorist attack. He talks about more on the financial level when it comes to these mortgage bonds and these school bonds. When this all comes to the head, that people are going to lose their shit, and however that's going to explode, could that bring everybody to their knees when it comes to their money? Is that when it's going to wake up the people, the children? I mean, we thought the children would for sure, but man, people are still got their heads in the sand on that one. So, but great question, Tina Q. Thank you for that. Go ahead, Stellar.
Oh, I was gonna talk a little bit for a moment about like what Duck, and was it Jersey or was that Tina or Eva? Someone about whoever was talking about the jet fuel. So yes, that was issued.
That was me.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, you. Okay, yeah. So it was issued last night, like Duck had confirmed. But then if you research it a little bit, the United States, our jet fuel, yeah, there's short and everything, but we're not going to have the issues. Don't forget, we get a lot of international flights. So where there's the big issue, and really truly is an issue, is European flights or international flights, and they come into the United States. So if there's, if you're trying to get back to the United States, those might have delays and things. That I just wanted to say that you have to look at the beginning parts, and a lot, and I bet you that that's more of what it is, because the United States did state, yes, our supplies are are low, but there has not been any disruptions from my understanding at this point.
Thank you, Stellar. Go ahead, Jersey girl.
I just wanted to remind everyone that President Trump said that you and your families are safe. Just think of that when we're going through the storm, and you'll know when we're in it, but we're going to be safe. Okay.
Thank you, Jersey. Appreciate that reminder. All right, let's see. Go ahead, John. You have your hand up. Hello, Dr. James.
Hello.
Go ahead,
Hello,
John.
everyone. You guys are awesome. Duck, I love your information. To the fuel comment on you, on Jenny, on you, I've heard some time back, before we can switch into quantum, all planes have to be grounded. So that's a good cover for that. That's what I was thinking on that one. So, the other thing, someone wanted me to ask about, what are your thoughts on, Duck, on what's going on in Reno? Obviously, we're not there. We can't really, I mean, she told me her niece had to be evacuated. So there is some things going on, and we know that there is a lot of stuff that's going on.
Thank you for that question. I was going to bring that up. Go ahead, Rubberduck. I would love your opinion on that as well.
Well, what's going on in Reno?
John, can you be, some people had to be evacuated. I think the power
Fires.
and stuff went out.
It's the fires.
Okay,
And it was the
go
part of
ahead.
the burn that was okay. So there was big fires a little while ago, and there's a
Yeah,
part
like
that was,
90,000 acres.
and so yeah, and so there was a part where it skipped, and so that's where the fires restarted. I think it's about 15,000 acres at this point. They've had close to 40,000 people either evacuated or on call to be evacuated. The weather and stuff like that is crazy up there, so the winds are going kind of crazy and things, and it is close, and it is getting close to UNR's campus. So yeah, that's what's going on up there.
Oh, yeah, and it wasn't 90,000 acres. I was wrong. Last time I checked, it was 90,000 people are in the either evac now or be ready to evac. So that's the number of people impacted now. It's pretty heavy.
So I did speak to Skinny about this and Marie because they're up in that area. So do you remember you guys, we were talking about the mining that just got approved and they started doing the mining just on the other side of Reno. So this is kind of in that general area too, just FYI. From what they were saying, it's kind of in that area.
And don't forget, you have the Orion lines. I'm talking about, these are trafficking lines for children, for humans, for goods, whatever. You have the Orion lines that go east and west across the United States, and then you have the rat lines that go from the Canadian border to the Mexican border. And whatever I do and this is what I did during the lockdowns and a little before, when I realized that everything that was really happening then was live, and they really couldn't tell us really anything about it except to pay attention to where and who or what would be affected. We would just take all of that, like, the first time there was a big flood, I believe it was that flood in one of the Carolinas, and it took out a whole swath of area. Like, people were just gone. And we went back, we did research, and yes, it did fall upon, one of the Orion lines. Actually, it was near where one of the Orion lines converges with the north and south, lines that run north and south. Lots of occult activity occur along these lines, for reasons that it's a little bit above me. But let's just say that, and all roads lead to the Vatican. That's just the way it works. That was the way the ancient tree root systems ran. They ran all coming from that direction. So whenever I, would hear anything anywhere in the world, I would quickly check the ley lines. I would check where it was geographically, and, longitude, latitude, all of that stuff, because then all you need to do is just a little bit of research to, beneath that, to find out, what was happening in that area where there are lots of occult activity. Because wherever there's occult activity, you have tunnels, because you can't practice occult on the top of the earth. You got to go underneath. You got to go underground in the basement. And where there's basements for these, we've come to learn that they're all connected, and they are all connected. So that's why when we found out that, I forget the name of the property that was destroyed during that one mudslide, but that ended up, taking out a piece of property that was owned by the Vanderbilts, or penetrated a piece of property. And the news story
Biltmore
that,
Estate, right?
yeah,
Yeah, the
the
Biltmore
Biltmore
Estate.
estate. So that whole entire episode, in my opinion, and yes, they say I don't know anybody personally that was affected. I don't know anybody personally that got wiped out. You know what I mean? I got family from really deep south, southern West Virginia. And yes, I have family that have been wiped out by mudslides and floods and stuff like that. You know, that said, I believe that the whole reason for that whole episode, and I do believe, yes, it was done by man, you know, by controlled weather. And I believe that was to take out whatever was happening underneath the ground. Because we mentioned Gene Decode earlier, you know, and one thing that Gene said early on about the tunnels is that the initial thought process was just flood them. That the military, the people that were involved, they were just going to say, fuck it, let's, because we could. I mean, they were just going to drill holes from beneath the ocean and flood all of these ancient tunnel, you know, these ancient, you know, we used to have huge trees that were like the size of skyscrapers or much larger. And, you know, that's where, like, you know, Devil's Mountain, you know what I mean? That the place that was in Close Encounters of the Third Kind looks like a plateau, but it's really just an ancient tree that was cut down. So those trees had roots that were the size of cities. You know what I mean? Like, you can have a whole, well, anyway, that's a gene dig. You have to do that. They could not do that. They were unable to flood that because that would have actually changed, you know, the Earth's water table. Like, things you want to talk about weather events, that would have done something that could not have been impacted or controlled by man. So they could not do that. But where they were able to do that is in certain parts of the world, certain parts of the countries where they could, you know, drill holes in a lake, right? And simply flood an entire part of a system, underground system, you know, where, and again, the people that lived beneath the earth were our enemies. So through a certain amount of feet of earth was like an alternate civilization, you know what I mean? And we'll learn about that at some point, what exactly it was and what they were up to. But as far as, you know, what they were doing underneath there and what they were breeding, you know, into humanity. In my opinion, that's the only way they could have taken these people out, is by controlling the weather, by having directed energy weapons, by having HARP, by being able to pinpoint earthquakes in a certain area, by being able to have a small nuclear weapon, you know, disguised as a bunker buster, you know, that you send over to a port in Beirut that, you know, there's some deep demon shit going underneath there, because that was the child trafficking hub for the entire Middle East. That's where Israel got all of its sacrifices, was from the port of Beirut. And that was taken out, and it looked like a fucking nuclear bomb. But they said, oh, you know, it was just a bunch of fireworks, you know, stuff like that. We saw red skies in China. We saw blood rivers flowing from the mountains of Afghanistan during the lockdown. So, I mean, a lot of that stuff happened. But the biggest story that came from those slides and mudslides in the weather in Carolina, once you got past all the narrative and all the people that allegedly passed, but nobody ever knew who they were, you came to the Vanderbilt house. And the big story was the Vanderbilt house is flooded. So they released pictures and video of the Vanderbilt house. And what did we find beneath it? We found the same images and pictures of the pool that were posted in the early Q drops, where they would basically, you know, they would line children up, and they would line them up all around the edge of the pool, and they would take pictures of them. And those pictures were then turned into art, and they were abused, and they were sold off like cattle. They were bid on. And places where they were done were not your local farm. They were done underground in empty pools like this, because they're out of their fucking mind. And they live by a different set of rules and a system that we do. You know, when they see something, a child in pain, instead of hitting that nerve that makes you want to destroy Earth in order to save that child, you know, they feel opposite. They feel a very deep love, longing, and internal joy and happenstance that's brought to them when they see a child under pain, you know, and we need to see all of this. And one way of doing it was putting the Vanderbilt house on a spotlight so that us Anons can do our thing and aggregate the shit out of it. And we woke up a lot of people, during that period of time. So yes, I do believe that shit like that, weather was controlled. Yes to the dues, yes to HARP, yes to all of it. Every system they had to control us, enslave us, manipulate, and cull us, which is, keep us herded to a certain number. I absolutely believe that we commandeered all of those systems and used them to A, take them out, and then B, put certain protections in place that could never be commandeered back again. My opinion only.
Thank you, Rubberduck. Go ahead, Stellar.
I love this space. You guys got to do this more often. That's all. I had more to say, but I forgot because he did other stuff and my ADD just
Well,
went
we do it
crazy.
every Monday, honey. Where you been?
Well, no, Wednesday and Friday too. If we can request, how like in the olden days when you call in the radio and say, hey, can we request a song? Can we request more Rubber Duck?
I mean, Rubberduck, we could talk about that in the backside if you want.
Whatever you want, sweetheart. I'm always here, always available.
All right, because I don't know, because you got stuff going on over there too, so I just want to make sure. All right, John, you dropped your back. I'm gonna unmute your mic. Did we answer your question, my friend? Go ahead. Go ahead, John. Did we answer your question? Or
Yes, I just want to say excellent explanation. That makes a lot of sense with a lot of the stuff going on. And it's just more cleanup that they're doing, and that's what we're looking at. And then you cross-reference it with all the ley lines and different things. Thanks for that information. That was a great answer.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Let me know. I'll write it down so I don't forget.
Go for it. Do it.
Okay, so remember just recently how Europe got off of, they just upgraded their like MiCA, SEPA compliancy and stuff like that. So like you're talking about timing is everything.
You'll have to do me a favor. Just tell us what that is a little bit that you just mentioned. What is that?
Okay, so when you're talking about banking protocols, so in the United States, we have the ISO 20022, the compliancy for data or information. So whether it's a financial, anything, but we'll just talk financial right now, because this is about the banks. And with what's going on with Iran and pretty much the line in the sand that Basant said, if we catch anybody doing dealings with Iran, you're going to be cut off from the US, financial system. Why it's super important is because right now everything is going through pretty much the ISO or the compliances based from the United States. So the protocols of the ISO 20022. Europe, they were still using Tether, which is the old technology, or what I call, it's the shady one. It's not fact. They won't allow an audit to happen, so it's not compliant with how the new protocols are for the world. It's not just in the United States, it's for the world. So with that being said, it's only been a few weeks, I would say maybe a month at the most, that Europe had to be completely compliant with the new upgraded protocols. There have been several banks in Europe that have gotten the warnings and fines because they did not upgrade their protocols. So if they don't upgrade their protocols, they cannot use the system that the world is on, which is on the ISO 20022, because the SWIFT system, which is the Central Reserve Bank system here in the United States, and that's our system, is running parallel to the quantum financial system, if you want to put it that way, which is the ISOs, quantum.gov, if people don't know what that is. That should help a little bit. So does that make sense? So with all this cleaning out, it's like in one of your guys' spaces that you had before, I kept saying, we're getting into and someone said, no, we're in the execution phase, not like kill people execution, but execution is all systems are a go. And with Trump's flag last night, flying with the race thing, all systems are a go, in my personal opinion. And that is why we're seeing stuff and Basant saying, if you guys conduct business and any more black money or whatever, you're cut off. Well, that means they're cut off from the entire world, because even China and the BRICS countries are adopting the ISOs, which is the, our thing, which is, we want it here. So there, that's all.
thank you, Stellar. All right, go ahead, Dr. James. And Rubberduck, look at your DMs here. You've got everybody blocked. Nobody can come in.
Yeah, no, I was
They,
getting
they
DMs
need
about
to
that
not get
too
under
from
my skin.
people.
Then what can I say?
Yeah, all I can tell you, RD, is I'll talk to you offline. There's one person you did a blanket block on. It's actually pretty cool. So, and I know like I change your mind all the time when I talk to you about this. It's like, unblock this person. Do it, do it, do it. Okay, James, I'll do it for
There's two.
you. Yeah, that
There's
happens
two.
all the time.
There's two of them I just sent you in your DM, Rubber Duck.
Right. So,
Yeah,
hey,
I'll take them all under advisement. Go ahead.
yeah. So let's see. Oh, I apologize for being late. Our water pump for our house blew, and I had to get there's a blown capacitor in the power supply, so I have a capacitor on the way. I'm gonna have to solder that in, and then we'll have water here again. So we had a lightning spike, and it blew out the pump. So I gotta fix it. But in any case, yeah, that's about what's going on. I didn't blow out the pump, blew out the power supply. So yeah, we're good. It'll be good in an hour or two. Then we'll have water. Yay. Yeah, I was going to ask about if you guys, because it came in late, I had talked about Scott Vicent and the sanctions he's going to lay in earlier, or if that was the first time mentioned when Stella just brought it up. Because I think, yeah, we got the flag yesterday, green for go. We're going. He came out. He hinted at it yesterday. It was discussed. People talked about it. He's going to come out, and he talked about it at the end of last week. We're going to come out and do this, and today's they're doing it. Previously in our history, we've thrown out these sanctions to all these nations for decades. A long time. Whenever this stuff happens, right, and it never works because the central banks, right? They can do anything. They could do anything behind the scenes without us being aware, being able to check on anything. Well, that all changed when we took over our own Federal Reserve here in the US, right? When it was put under Treasury, there were all those infighting things with all the people that bolted themselves inside facilities, wouldn't leave, yada, yada, yada. That's all done. What we're seeing now is the other side's going to say you've weaponized, you know, the Treasury, you've weaponized the Federal Reserve, whatever it is. Okay, yeah, we weaponized the fuck out of it. You weaponized it against us since Wilson was president. So yeah, we're turning those tables, and this will be the first time in history that you have sanctions that are going to be like will be enforceable, right? There was no way to enforce them before, with essentially Europeans controlling the system, right? So this is going the next. I think the next couple of weeks, not date fagging or anything, but I think we're going to start seeing impact. It's not going to be like day one. Yes, some people may cave. I also think Canada's going to be in real trouble with regards to the cars, trucks, an issue of 50% tariffs going up on them. Carney's trying to play hardball with Trump, and it's going to be ugly, or it is ugly. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So there'll be a point at which it can't get any worse. It'll snap, and then they'll capitulate, right? The entire planet will capitulate to these things that are being rolled out right now. And it's not like they're doing something bad for their countries, right? This is something good for their people. They've been oppressing the people around this planet, just like, we've been for all this time. So when this is done, these sanctions are going to have an impact like we've never seen before. So I think over the course, as time rolls on, we'll see it start slowly over the next week, 2 weeks, and then they'll start ramping up really fast, and you'll see a bunch of people flip around because they're going to realize there's no way out of it. When they start trying to use black market stuff or other means of trying to transfer the money, and they'll have to, you're going to probably see them move to blockchain to do a lot more right now. And so those are the types of change, and then that stuff will be spotted. So I think that's about it. I think we're going to see a bunch of stuff happening here in the next, you know, like right, I mean, he's done it and it's enforceable. So this is a first. And I think we lost Rubber Duck.
I'm the guest has left the building, everybody. Rubber Duck, where did you go? Okay, so I think what's happening because he's got everybody blocked, and when you're a co-host, they can't come in. But when you're not a co-host, then they can come in. So he's probably gonna come back, and I'll have him be a speaker, and then that's where we will and then
There
you
he
guys,
is. He's
yeah,
coming back. Yeah.
he's coming back in. So real quickly, I want to say We are being listened to over in a group chat over on Telegram. I want to say hello to Telegram over there. I believe it's Enough is Enough, your room over there. Thank you guys for tuning in over on
Oops.
Telegram. Appreciate it.
Those
And
are my girls.
oh, well, there you go, Jersey. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like I said, Rubberduck has a lot of great information, and many of the guests that are coming up here speaking on the stage. So thank you guys so much, Telegram, and all of you over there listening. Great.
Thank you, Telegram.
All right, Rubberduck. So,
Jenny, send me the co-host again so these people can't get in.
wait, what? I thought you dropped so they could come in.
No, I don't roll like that. You know that.
What,
You get
what did you drop
Rubber
for?
Duck is a one-shot deal. Somebody knocked me out.
Nobody knocked you out, Goofy.
Or I glitched.
You're
Or I glitched.
you're Goofy. Like Health, Wealth, and Abundance says Goofy.
Where is he? He's usually here too. I don't see
He's
him.
probably sleeping or working. Go ahead, Jane. You have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to back up what the doc just said a few minutes ago about Canada. And I think if Canada, what they've been doing, they've been bringing in Chinese goods, especially the rolled steel and metal products, and then they're reselling them at our border, labeled as Chinese, as Canadian, to avoid the Chinese tariffs and to avoid the fact that the Chinese metal is no good. It's crap. So that's one of the big issues, and Canada doesn't want to stop that. So I think if it really push comes to shove, I would not be surprised, and I've been saying this for a while, but I would not be surprised if Trump doesn't close the border down with Canada, because at some point they're going to try to play it too footloose and too fancy free, and they've gotten away with it for decades. So they think culturally that's the only way it's ever going to go, and they're trying to delay everything to our midterms because they're expecting our midterm to change things. But I really think that if push comes to shove and Carney keeps playing this game and Doug Ford keeps being the idiot he is, I would not be surprised if President Trump doesn't close the border down and really restrict all traffic to and from. I wouldn't be surprised. So, and I just want to say that that's something I've been kind of watching for a while. I love Canada. I love the Canadian people. For a while in my misspent youth, I lived in Ontario. Beautiful people, wonderful people, but their government really does suck, and that's the problem. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Jane. Real quickly, I'm going to go an extra 30 minutes on this show today because my next show isn't for a little bit after, but we're going to go. Are you good for an extra 30 minutes, Rubberduck?
Yeah, I got to take a walk, but I'll be
You
here.
got to take a walk. Where are you going to go? Go get your coffee or your espresso?
No, I got to get some milk.
Close enough. All right, go ahead, Doctor.
And the market is down the block, so I might just take a walk. But then I don't want to lose you here. But wait, you know what? Before I forget, because that's usually what happens. I put up in the top of the whatever the thing is across the top, the jumbotron.
The nest.
Because when we talk about like this being a global thing and that it's not just the United States, and how on earth, how on earth did what happened here, how on earth could that happen over like in Europe and throughout the rest of the world? And to that, I want to submit what happened in 2020, which was, the United States, and it was during the lockdowns in 2020, our military was actually deployed throughout Europe, and that's where the battle was fought, and it was called Operation Defender Europe 2020, and it was a significant military exercise. It was led by us, the United States, in Europe, and it actually was the largest deployment of United States-based forces to Europe since the end of the Cold War. There were more than 20,000 American troops and soldiers, including, listen up, the following units: the 2nd Battalion, 12th Cavalry Regiment, 1st Armored Brigade Combat Team, 1st Cavalry Division. Why would they be there? The 7th Army Training Command, the 16th Sustainment Brigade, the 30th Medical Brigade, the 1st Cavalry Division Headquarters, the 12th Combat Aviation Brigade, and the 101st Combat Aviation Brigade, along with the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team, 3rd Infantry Division, 18th Military Police Brigade. This is when the underground war was fought and won. So I put this up top. Take a look at it. There's a little clip that I made a long time ago, 6 years ago, that talks about it. And all of the graphics and all of the infographics about this are not mine. They were made by the U.S. military and advertised at the time. The TV didn't tell us back then because it wasn't the time. But I knew then, as I still know now, and I think now is a good time for everyone to kind of understand how big the picture is and kind of learn about it, in a benign way that it'll make sense. So there's that. Thank you. Sorry for the
Oh, no,
interruption.
you're good. How everything is coming full circle, right, everybody? So great stuff. And FYI, Duck, we're getting a lot of requests for us to do our show a little more often. So we definitely need to talk about it. Okay.
I'm there for it.
All right, cool. Dr. James, go ahead. I think you had your hand up before Rubber Duck shared that.
Hey, yeah, so actually, Jane, you got me thinking about something, and I was thinking about a little bit before. Customs. You're talking about borders and things coming through versus not coming through, right? Um, so at some point, 20 something years ago, does anyone remember that, our borders have two sides? We have a U.S., like at customs, we have a U.S. side and an internal and an external side of customs, right? And for our whole history of our country, we managed and operated our customs, our borders, right? I'm trying to remember what year it was. It was either Clinton or W, because I was around there then. It may have been W. It may have been Obama. I'm not sure which year it was because I haven't looked it up or thought about it in a long time. But the U.S. turned over operations of the external part of our customs to China. We put it out on a contract bid. The government did. It was part of this whole international thing, whatever it was. We put out a bid, and U.S. companies and organizations or groups or whatever, we had something on it, and they were trying to cut costs, supposedly. That was the argument. And so the Chinese won that contract. And so literally the CCP, so if you like fly into, or come into a port, like with a cargo ship, right? Um, you hit the Chinese first. They check you to make sure you're okay to come to us. And then they approve or disapprove or whatever, yada, yada. And the information they get determines how the U.S. responds and how heavy a look they take at whatever the vessel is, okay? So it had been that way for several years. And I know at some point in his presidency, Trump stopped that. He just totally shut it down, and we took over external control of our border. I don't remember which year it was, but he did this. The thing is in those 20-ish years or whatever it was that China was operating our external customs, all these other countries like Canada and then especially in Mexico, I mean, all the countries all over the place, people shipping things through, they organized and they worked out their mechanisms for doing things like bypassing sanctions, like bypassing our customs and getting things in and out of the country, from people to contraband to whatever. Uh, they changed their mechanisms and their operating procedures and how they did things because it was easier with the Chinese working our external border, right? Those systems still haven't fluxed back from when Trump took back over our border, right? They're still trying to catch their breath and trying to readjust their logistics, right? Is essentially what they're doing. So this is in play right now too. So and now Space Force is more in. All this ties together to be like when these sanctions hit, they're going to try to shut this down. And we lost Rubberduck again. He must have walked out on his porch. That always happens on his little
The
porch.
guest
There's a
has
part
left
of it
the
that has a
building.
dead zone. Yeah. So like yeah. So that's what you're gonna and what triggered it was Jane saying that we're gonna see more coming in from Canada, and I think the ways they're gonna try to penetrate our border now are still not remodified because we're on the outside, right? They're kind of hunting and pecking for ways to get around our border now, and specifically our customs and our ports and stuff. So that's going to play a lot too. We're going to see a lot of them try to do things. I think there'll be a lot of exposure on their methods and tactics. There's RD back again. I'm telling you, bro, you got a spot on your porch out there. Either that or the birds are like all like doing something where they get in between the signal of your phone. But it's possibly the birds. I'd blame the birds. So yeah, that's what I think's going on here, and I think we'll see a big. It's going to be very different. You're going to see a lot of different things having to do with customs, border, um, and this won't just affect us, but so much goes in and out of here that it'll end up affecting other places too. So
Thank you,
I
Dr.
think there's a little.
James.
Yep.
Well, didn't we see Chinese military like traipsing along our border along the Canadian side like
Yeah,
a couple
sure
of years
did.
ago?
That island? Yeah, absolutely. A Canadian island, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, real
The
quickly.
system knew I wanted to say that, so they were deleting me. But no, I'm actually walking now. This is Rubberduck on site.
All right, we're real quickly. We have two new speakers that came up real quickly. They don't have their hands up, but 17. Did you have a question for Rubber Duck? Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. A lot of people request, but they don't say anything. Go ahead, 17. Your mic is unmuted. Hello.
Hello. Hi. I appreciate you letting me speak. I just wanted to go back to schools and the bond issue, if I could. I am a Western New York teacher. I live close to the Buffalo, New York area, getting ready to go to school. So I'm sitting here right at my computer right now, working on some schoolwork. And I know I have heard Juan
She's a
speak
friend of Alpha's. She has
previously.
5
I know Jenny.
followers in 2 years, and she's going to be a space hog and hijack this space. She's not who she says she is. Just letting you know.
Oh
No,
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 actually, I
you're
am.
not. I've already
I
been through your profile and through all
okay.
your followers and following, and you really need to go.
Okay, hang on, Doc.
Jenny,
Oh, I'm
send
so
me the
sorry.
co-host,
Hang
please.
on. Go ahead. Let's see if we can get through your question. Go ahead, 17.
Okay, so I don't know if I have a question, but I just have a comment. I guess in terms of shutting schools down, possibly shutting schools down. I taught remotely for an entire year, and it was really traumatic for the students. And I'm worried about that. I guess it's
So,
just a
so
comment, not
this
really
is
a
why we
question.
say, and I say to my audience often, be head on a swivel, be prepared, because these elections get paused, it's going to have, and these teachers, all of the teachers need to be retaught, retrained for the new that's coming in. We're out with the old. They're getting rid of the Common Core, all that bullshit teaching that they're doing with our kids, the indoctrination BS that they're doing. So it's gonna, and one does say that the kids will have to be homeschooled. And yeah, I get it. Parents are gonna be probably freaked out about it because they have to work or whatever. You know,
If you're afraid of it, then you need to prepare for it
how
because there's nothing that can stop
how
it.
this how this
Right,
how this all looks,
right,
how
Sadly.
this we don't know how it's going to all play out. That's why it's important to pay attention and listen to the right people, because Juan is being more direct with us now of what's going to happen, as is Donald Trump, without coming out directly kind of saying what's going to happen. But we really need to pay attention, because
right.
I do believe we have to shut it all down, and that includes our schools. Our schools are not teaching our kids anything good. That Common Core bullshit is straight up bullshit. It needs to be gone. The transgenderism and all this other bullshit, it needs to go. And
Oh,
so
I totally
I
agree.
say, get prepared, be prepared for it, because I highly think that it will happen.
Okay,
Of course,
thank you very
thank you.
much. I
All
appreciate
right,
it.
go ahead, Frequency. I see that you requested a mic. Your mic is unmuted.
Well, great. I appreciate it. I've got a few things I could talk about. One that's important to me, and I think it should be important to everyone, is that, we are in God we trust in the United States. And that was a big part of the creating of the United States.
Hello,
And we
my
need to know.
friends. It's nice to hear your voice again, my friends, my friends, my friends. You're pretty good, but you're my friends, and we know who you are.
Oh, what? Wait a minute. I just started talking. Yeah. So,
I know, but you are you. We know who you are. You are. Hello again, my friends. Come on, dude. You're not good at that, disguising your voice. We know exactly who you
wait,
are.
whoa, no,
Dude.
wait. You
Oh,
first you
no,
went
it's
after
not
the
me.
17 girl that was the new speaker, and now me. I don't know what's going on.
So
Dude,
hey, hang on a
I
second,
know
real
this
quick. Hang on,
guy, okay?
okay, hang
You
on a
know
second, Dr.
me?
James.
Who am
Wait,
I, man? I don't know
wait,
you.
wait, 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 wait. Well, hold on, hold on. This
And
is
this
not
is
a
why I
wait,
always
wait.
say, give me the co-host.
This is how I run my spaces, guys. Okay, so I control them. I don't let trolls come up here. Frequency, you are a new speaker, and I implore new people to come in here and ask questions because this is how we're gonna learn. But the trolls, if you're a troll, I don't know if you are or not.
No,
I
I'm
don't
not a
know.
troll. If I'm speaking about God, if that's a troll, then I don't know. Then maybe I need
Well,
to
no, I'm
go.
not saying
Maybe
that.
I
Hold
do
on,
need to go.
hold on, hold on. Just relax,
Jenny, send me
relax.
the co-host, please. Thank you.
So anyway, frequency. Go ahead with your
Yeah.
comment, and
So
then we'll get through it.
I recently realized where we are in terms of, how we were just kind of getting off of education and how we've all been educated on like the Earth and that it spins at 1,030 miles per hour in the
Jenny, get rid of
on the
this fucking
axis.
guy. I mean,
Okay, well, hang on. I gotta listen to him too
no,
to
there's no hang
decipher for
on.
Yeah.
He's
So
myself.
here
they
to
tell
So
us
they're
in
here to
school our
disrupt us, and
education is
that's what
so
they've been
messed
doing.
up. Our
I
education
gotta
is
go.
so
I'm not
messed
gonna
up.
stay here for it.
So they tell us that the Earth spins on its axis 1,030 miles an
frequency,
hour. Yeah, and
real
that we spin
quickly. Do
around
you?
the sun.
Well,
We spin around
hold
the
on.
sun
Okay, I'm
93
gonna
million
mute
miles
you. I'm
away.
gonna mute you. I'm gonna mute you. So anyway, if you don't have a question for Rubber Duck or to kind of stay on topic here, then we're not going to do that. So if you have a question for Rubber Duck, then that's fine. Otherwise, we got to move on. All right. So go ahead, Tina Q, and then Jane.
I just want to say what people think. We have a lot of Eagle comms the last couple of days, and then with the story coming out about Bill Clinton, I know he's already gone, but do you think, Jenny, they're going to bring it out for the public knowledge like any day? I mean, there's so many comms coming out about him. What is your thoughts? Not
I
that it's
think.
a big deal, but I think it's his time.
Yeah, I think you're correct on that. Yes, it has to come out for public consumption, right? So I am seeing a lot starting to be resurfaced about him, like he's looking close to, the D word. So I do see that happening. Who knows when? Again, you never know, right? But I think just everybody anticipate it. But it's going to be mainly for the public consumption so they can absorb it because, once they hear it off of CNN, then guess what? They're gonna believe it. So I agree with you 100%, Tina Q. I do think that there are a lot of comms coming out, and it will be hopefully soon that we see that coming out.
Do you think after they get rid of him that way that we're gonna still, well, the Q drop said, he's gonna have a terrible month. The Clintons are gonna have a terrible, their health is gonna take a terrible turn. But I'm hoping that even though they get rid of him, that they have to let us know about him, correct?
Yes, they have to tell us, right? They have to let us know, right? However they do that, they have to tell us.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, Tina Q. All right, Miss Jane, go ahead.
Hey, thank you. I was just when Dr. James was talking about the Chinese having control of our external part of our border. I think that happened in the late part of the Clinton presidency. It was before 9/11. If it was not then, it was very early on in George H.W. or in W. But I think it was late Clinton because Clinton did a lot of things for the Chinese. And part of that also was the Chinese were allowed corporations, Chinese quote corporations, not the CCP, but we know it was. But Chinese corporations were allowed to buy some of our ports. I think the Port of Long Beach, Port of Los Angeles, I'm pretty sure a couple of East Coast ports and major ports, they were allowed to buy them. And so that was part of the Chinese having some control at our border. But what had happened before that goes back to Canada for decades, I think since probably World War I, maybe a little bit before then. The US Canadian border was almost an open border. There was customs on our side and there was customs on their side, but there was no pre customs on the US. If you were coming into the US, the Canadians would just kind of wave you through and you had one stop. So that was used, I believe, as a template when Clinton turned it over and said, well, it's worked in Canada for all these years. It'll work for us in all these other places. It'll save us money. We don't have to put border patrol agents in, whatever Frankfurt or whatever other airport someplace in the world. So it was done, quote, to save money, but what it really was following the Canadian template, which again, we're back to Canada having an open border with us. I really think that that's going to change unless they become a state. And I think that we will be seeing some real interesting stuff happen, not in the next month or two, but probably 6, 8, 10 months from now with Canada, because I think they're stubborn enough and stupid enough. And they've dug themselves enough into the hole that they're not sure how to get out. So I put that comment in the purple pill. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I apologize. But I'm pretty sure that was ceded over to Chinese corporations back in under Clinton. And the ports that were sold, I'm not sure that we've gotten all the full control of our ports back yet. I think that the port of Long Beach is still owned by a CCP controlled company. They've changed names a couple of times, but I think it can still be tracked back. Again, like I said, willing to be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that I've got that pretty close to right. And I'll shut up now. Thank you so much.
No, you're good. Thank you so much, Jane, for all your information. Go ahead, Jersey.
I am scrolling for news, and I'm seeing here that a breaking story: San Francisco 49ers owner and CEO Jed York was arrested in Ohio on a prostitution bust just weeks before the NFL is getting ready to kick off. So there you go. The arrests are going down. I'm telling you, I've been watching them. Like all the mayors were not all of them, but a lot of mayors were last week. And you can see how they're going up and down the ladder. That's what they've done the whole time. They're not going to just take out the middle part or take out the low level part. They're going up and down and up and down. It's a different way. I don't know, but it's remarkable. It's amazing. And that's it. I just wanted to tell you that.
Thank you, Jersey. And thank you guys. I think we're 10 minutes down, so I think I'm going to go ahead and end it. I'm going to get ready for my other show. So I appreciate all you guys being here. I apologize for the disruptions, but again, we handled it and we moved on from it. So, but like you guys know, I don't deal with the trolls, and you can and you get to see a little bit how they work, right? So I'm glad you guys are kind of able to witness it a little bit, and they talk off topic, they interrupt you, and so but it's good for you guys to see that. Once they talk a little bit, then I come in and just shut it down. So you guys know that about me. That's how I deal with my shows. So I appreciate all the great questions and everybody coming in here today. So if you guys want to come over this afternoon, it'll be streaming here live at 2:30 Pacific Standard Time, 5:30 Eastern Time, with Teresa Real. She's Patriots Water. It's oxygen therapy. So it's another alternative way of people, getting help in their healing process. So the testimonials speak for itself. I'm absolutely excited to have her on as a guest every other Wednesday. So please, if you want to come back for that, I encourage it, and I encourage all the questions. So with that, everybody, thank you, Jersey, for being here. Tina Q, Jane, everybody, God bless you all. We'll talk to you in a little bit. Thank you, guys.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.